Good morning, everyone. It is noon, and we are going to go ahead and get started with our briefing on our 2021 Reform California initiatives. And I want to start out first with just some introductory comments before we jump into the initiatives themselves, and also let you know as we go through the presentation that if you want to interact, you can always uh, type in your question into the Q&A box. That's the easiest way to get a question answered, is click under Q&A, type it in, send it to me as your panelist. In the Zoom app, you also can click raise hand, and we can call on you to ask a question using the audio as well as video. If you're on a phone, you can just hit *9 to raise your hand, and we can call on you, and you can speak when you hear a tone. If you don't get your question answered, or if you have anything that comes to you after the presentation, always email us info@reformcalifornia.org. So use that Q&A chat box, as well as in the Zoom app, raise your hand, and we'll call on you at the end of the presentation. But first, let me talk about where we are as a country. Many of us are experiencing emotions ranging from anger to frustration to sadness to fear. All those emotions are quite natural. You're not the only one. We saw an election where California's approach to balloting, with errors and fraud and problems and lack of internal controls, that messed up approach to elections was exported to states like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona. We saw an election with all sorts of problems in those states. And we, of course, weren't surprised, because we've been living under those fraudulent and loose election rules for many years, with ballot harvesting, dead people getting ballots, illegal immigrants being registered, duplicate ballots, triplicate ballots. 1 out of 10 Californians got an erroneous ballot in the mail in this last election. What's frustrating is, by raising our legitimate concerns about how the election was conducted, we literally had mainstream media, social media, the political party of the Democrats, and even some Republicans dismiss those issues as crackpot, cult-related, fake news, lies, misinformation, deception. Frustrating. Now, we may not have evidence to prove that the election was stolen, but we know that the practices under which this election was conducted brought all sorts of invitation for fraud. And we should not have an election like that. When we raised these issues, we were told on social media, when we posted, that we were lying. Liberals did not have the same disclaimers put on their posts about Russia for the last 4 years. People were put in Facebook jail. People were deplatformed. They were told that they're no longer eligible for Twitter or Facebook. We got together and we did our own social media effort, and those platforms were shut down. What does that result in? It results in a great many Americans feeling as though their freedom of speech has been silenced. It makes them frustrated. It makes them angry. It makes them sad, as though they've been victimized. Then we watched the Capitol get breached by people who said that they were part of our coalition. Fringe weirdos from the far right and the far left engaging in that behavior. But what was painful is that we had to recognize that those folks purported to be part of our coalition. Now, unlike the left, we condemned the violence immediately. There was no hesitation. It's violent. It's not appropriate. It has no place on our coalition. Sadly, the Republicans were consistent, but Democrats were not. then finally, when we get to the final days of this past week, we've been told that we are in need of deprogramming. We've seen friends lose jobs. We've seen stories of conservatives being fired for their views. The cancel culture, the harassment, the bullying, the attacks, the vandalism. And I know many people feel as though with this new government, at the federal level, the state level, local level, Democrats running everything, the media in control of everything, social media deplatforming everything, that it's a lost cause. Let me tell you that the America that you and I inherited was at times seen as a lost cause by our forefathers and foremothers. Americans have had to confront problems greater than the ones that we're facing today. In the darkest periods of our history, Americans like you and me were afraid and frustrated and angry, but they channeled their efforts into productive, positive leadership. And we are the beneficiaries of that. So as desolate as you may feel, please do not give up hope, because we've seen worse, we've experienced worse as a country, and we've been able to survive worse. More importantly, as our previous generations did, it's our obligation to step up to the moment and to give our children and grandchildren a better America than the one we inherited. Right now, it doesn't look better, I know, but it's our job to fix that. So with that, let me take a recap of 2020. And this is another reason why you should have a little bit of optimism, okay? In California, they said we were dead. They said that, the Democrats are going to run roughshod. They put Prop 15 on the ballot with a misleading title. They had $100 million more than we did. In San Diego and local governments across the state, they did local tax increases like Measure A, saying they were going to cure homelessness. They didn't really point out that it was a massive tax increase. What we did in 2020 was remarkable for the limited resources we had. First, we blocked tax increases before they reached the ballot. Across the state of California, we worked with city council members, community groups to stop tax measures from qualifying by depriving them of the votes on the councils and the boards. And so some of the tax wins we got even before a single ballot was cast. When 240 plus tax measures appeared on the ballot statewide, we organized opposition to every one of those tax increases statewide using a template approach, rinse and repeat, same stuff, same arguments, same filings, same efforts, same ballot door hangers and endorsement guides. For Measure A and other local measures, we put money into the campaigns. And for Prop 15, we put our most of our resources into that effort. As a result, we defeated, you ready for this? More than $16 billion in tax hikes in 2020. And we took Prop 15 from a ballot measure where we were losing 28% to 63% with a bad ballot title to winning 52-48. And it was a remarkable grassroots effort. Most of that ballot change wasn't the TV ads. It was what was going on the ground as our endorsement guides, our voter guides got out there, the grassroots posts, et cetera. Second, in the 2020 cycle, we also did a lot of investigative research. Some of the reports that we issued were kind of unconventional. One was on the rat epidemic, the rodent epidemic in California because of homelessness. Never thought I'd be standing at a podium issuing a report saying we have more rats today than ever before. We also did the Election Integrity Project research, releasing on October 15th our report, 1 in 10 California households received erroneous ballot. That research, again, showed people that an all mail-in ballot election is not the way to go. We're planning to do more watchdog reports and research this cycle. Something I'm most proud of is we spent a lot of resources and volunteer efforts on the voter guide. Electionguidecalifornia.org had a voter guide for every county. All 58 counties were covered by Reform California voter guides. Over 263 unique downloads of the statewide voter guide happened, making the Reform California voter guide now the largest nonpartisan voter guide in the state of California. And fourth, we mobilized support for reform candidates. We created our first candidate committee. This is a segmented fund that we have of support just for candidates, directly as well as for independent expenditures. We also organized our deployment of volunteers, and we made our voter contacts. In particular, in the last 2 weeks of the election, the program that we ran hitting more than 1 million voters that had not yet returned ballots. All of that boosted turnout through text, digital, handwritten mailers, and canvassing. We won for the first time since 1998 a net increase in legislative seats in California for Republicans. For the first time in 22 years, we saw a net increase in legislative seats for Republicans. And we defeated, again, the $16 billion in tax hikes and helped state and local candidates win as well. Because, by the way, we won 4 net seats in California for the Congress, we've put Republicans to the closest they've been in decades to winning the majority. And it's going to make it hard for Nancy Pelosi to execute her program. No one thought we would win in California. And we still have seats that we can go after in 2022. More about that in a moment. Some observations on the voter, California voter. They are not as blue as you think. In fact, voters agree with our agenda. They agree with center-right candidates. Voters in California are anti-tax. They're pro-law enforcement. They are pro-job creation, and they are pro-fairness, which is why they rejected crazy ideas like Prop 16 on racial discrimination. Or they rejected Prop 22, or they endorsed Prop 22, past 22, to stand up for independent contractor jobs in the gig economy. So going forward in 2021, we've laid out a number of initiatives. At the top of our list, defeating Gavin Newsom. And by defeating Gavin Newsom, what we're talking about is not only trying to get him out of office, but we also have to stop his agenda. He has a radical, extreme agenda of higher taxes, draconian COVID-19 lockdowns that are not backed by science. He has an agenda of bigger government, more mandates, more restrictions, more regulations. He has been incompetent at his role as administrator of state programs, such that we now have 1 million people waiting for legitimate unemployment benefits. But we are letting criminals out of jail and giving them fraudulent unemployment checks. He's bungled the vaccination program rollout, and we have vaccines that are now going bad sitting in refrigerators across the state. Gavin Newsom's ineptitude has been covered up by the liberal media. It is up to us to expose it, to make sure voters know about the problems that they're suffering under are directly the result of his incompetence, and that they should consider giving the other side an opportunity to lead the state. Now, this is going to be an effort that's going to not only target Gavin Newsom, but anyone who supports his agenda. So if a member of Congress supports his agenda, a state senator, a state assembly member, a city council member, someone running for water board, if you stand with Gavin Newsom, you're part of the problem. And we should vote against anyone running against you for that race. We believe that Gavin Newsom will become so toxic in the state, whether or not we recall him or not, that we will gain seats by making him the face of incompetence and extremism in the state. I do believe that we have an opportunity to qualify the recall. More on that in a moment. But if we're going to block his agenda, it means that Reform California has to have a rapid response on issues, constantly hitting him with digital ads and informing voters through texts, canvassing, ads, mail, making sure that particularly independent voters know that he's responsible for these failings. And then, of course, we are going to work to unite the center-right coalition against the most viable, reform-minded replacement candidate. We cannot win an election with a milquetoast liberal. We have to have a principled reformer running for office who's genuine, sincere about their positions on issues. Second, block tax hikes. We are going to see a number of tax increases proposed. Literally just this morning, I was briefed on San Diego tax increases. They've got a sales tax that the Board of Supervisors, the Transit District, the City of San Diego are all separately considering. They're looking at a stormwater tax, a property tax. We have to stop them. And we're seeing that statewide in every county. So we will continue to have our permanent campaign opposing tax increases. We are moving right now forward with a proactive approach of getting councils to docket a resolution declaring that they oppose all tax increases, state and local, and that they commit themselves in their jurisdiction to refrain from placing any tax increase on the ballot in the 2022 cycle. Third, restore election integrity. We are looking at an audit of voter rolls. We are going to file a ballot initiative to strip politicians of their ability to write title and summaries on ballot measures. And we're looking to get citizen participation in redistricting of our legislative districts at the city, county, and state and federal level, because the Democrats have, for the past decade, gerrymandered districts to their benefit. We need to make sure we get fair, balanced districts that represent community values. Fourth, we need to get bold in reforming California and reforming local government and having a set of issues that are popular across 70% of the voter base. And so we're looking at issues relating to prosperity, personal freedom, and government accountability. We believe those three issue areas are what voters want to see us address: getting people back to work, making sure that they feel economically better, addressing their cost of living, making it more successful for them, or more easy to achieve economic success. Second, respecting their personal freedoms, whether that's stopping the cancel culture or allowing our churches to gather, or making sure that they can use recreational areas. Personal freedom is something that people really want to see us stand for. And finally, holding government accountable for colossal waste, fraud, abuse, ineptitude. Organizing our issue campaigns and petitions in these areas will be helpful, and doing policy research. Fifth is recruiting and supporting candidates for office, as well as reform projects. So we are prioritizing candidates for target areas and trying to fit them into districts that they match. And for the 2021 cycle, we're excited that we're establishing a Reform Action Resource Center. Thoughts on the recall. First, we're going to need 1.5 million valid signatures. As of the last Secretary of State report, there are 410,000 valid signatures. They are still validating more signatures that have been submitted. The various committees estimate that they've done 1 million signatures collected. In order to qualify at the validity rate we're seeing thus far, we need to collect 2 million signatures, and the deadline is March 17th. Can it be done? Yes. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a hard road to slog through, but it can be done. And the most effective way to do it are volunteer signatures. Just get 5, get 10. If each of you get 5 or 10 signatures, we're well on our way to qualifying the recall election. There is paid support from a couple committees, primarily through mailers. They're not as effective, though, as the volunteer effort. So your role in collecting signatures is absolutely powerful. After we trigger the recall election, we still have to make a case to the voters that they need to recall Gavin Newsom. The polling there still is spotty. It's still not a case that we've made, but we can make it. And that's why we are already positioning Reform California as helping educate voters and having the resources available to educate voters on a yes vote for the recall. Now, once you vote yes on recall, the ballot then has a separate line for who you would like to have as a replacement candidate. Whichever candidate gets the most votes wins, not a majority. The most votes wins. That's why we need to come and have a consensus on the best candidate for the recall. I can tell you that right now, backing a candidate who's a Democrat light, someone who says go along, get along, someone who has a record of supporting Democrat ideas like tax increases, the Green New Deal, cancel culture, that candidate will never get the support of base Republican voters. And Democrats, mark my words, Democrats will exploit the weakness of that candidate to split up the vote on the Republican side. So people like Kevin Faulconer or Chad Mays should not be running for governor. We need a principled reformer to run for governor. I'm not running, but we need to find someone to run that we can unite behind, who's a principled reformer. Let me talk about redistricting. I want to show you this map here. This is Orange County. This is Orange County 2018. We lost all the seats in Orange County. The 39th, the 48th, the 45th, the 49th, all were lost to the Democrats. But if you move the lines, instead of a 4-0 delegation or 5-0 delegation, which is what's reflected here, instead of a delegation that currently is 2-3, we could actually have a delegation that is, at least for the foreseeable future, a 3-2 majority Republican. So for example, in the 48th, see that yellow on the left-hand side in the 47th? That's a Republican block of votes in the 47th, which is a Democrat safe seat, that could be moved into the 48th to make a complete safe seat for Michelle Steele. Look at the 39th. You see that top oval? Top oval there is taking Anaheim Hills. Very Republican, but it's now part of the Democrat 45th district. Moving those communities in will give Young Kim a solid solid Republican seat. And then take a look at the bottom oval. The bottom oval is the 49th, Mike Levin, and the southern portion of the 45th for Democrat Katie Porter. By uniting that bottom oval, you create a standalone Republican seat that's safe. Redistricting is key. We're going to play in redistricting. We're going to get citizens to show up, argue the case that these lines need to be reasonable, and they need to put communities of interest together. What can you do to help? Number one, contribute. We need the resources. We are not funded by the big donors. We do work out matching collaborative funding on projects, but without grassroots contributions of $25, $50, $75, $100, we will never be able to make this happen. And so our committee is always grassroots funded, and we get literally 50, 60,000 contributors to support us statewide each cycle. Your contribution is highly impactful, even if it's $25. Second, volunteer. We need help with the projects. Sometimes it's with the mailers that we do, mailing from home. Other times it's the calling. We've gone virtual, so you don't have to come into the campaign office. You can do it exclusively through your cell phone. But we need to make the phone calls. We need to send the text messages. Also, forward our emails onto your friends. We need to build the list. Post the petitions online. Get your friends to join. And as soon as they join, they get information and they know how to help. Participate with rapid response. When a bad bill is proposed, we're going to let you know, and we need you to flood the mailbox of those politicians and oppose the bill and light the fires. And finally, partner. Get others to work with us. If you're a member of a board, of a trade association, a business group, a chamber of commerce, get them to reach out to us. We need to work with them collaboratively to build the coalition. Tell your elected officials to be part of our team. I'll tell you right now, there are a few bright spots, but mostly the elected officials are sitting on their ass. They're not doing squat. And so I need your help in telling them, what are you doing to collect signatures on the recall? What are you doing to help recruit candidates or build out the opposition? Why aren't you taking Newsom tougher to task? We need elected officials to lead this effort. They have resources in Sacramento that they need to use to advance reform. Democrats are doing it. Why aren't we seeing Republicans do it? I want to share with you the website real quick. I want to make sure that I can do this. Screen share. Take a look at the website. When you go to the website, reformcalifornia.org, this is how you best can use can work with our team. The landing page allows you to get your friends to sign up right here. This allows us to know where they are in the state in case there's a local tax measure that we want to alert them about, or a local candidate, so we need them to support. But we need their first and last name, email, and zip code to connect with them. We also have our top campaigns that are active each month. Right now, Stop the Tax Hikes, Election Integrity, California Redistricting, local reform groups, Defeat Gavin Newsom are the most active campaigns this month. Now, go up here to active campaigns. These are campaigns that we're running or we're supporting across the state of California. On each of these, they can click and get more information. So, for example, under Defeat Gavin Newsom, they can click, and each campaign has the information people need as to why we're doing the campaign. Why is Gavin Newsom so bad? Here's some talking points to use with your friends. But then we're asking people for help. Every campaign that we run has a petition that people can sign. This allows us to harvest coalition members, and then we convert them into supporters once they sign the petition. Please do not use change.org petitions. It is a Democrat website. They will not give you the information. They will not share the information. They keep the information, and they know that you're now a Republican. Use this platform of petitions because the data we then can use to build the coalition, to harness it for all of our projects. We also have people have the ability to make a contribution for each specific project. When people say, how do you track the funds that you raise? Each project has a contribution link, and so we get a report as to how much money we've raised in each area, whether it's election integrity, defeating Gavin Newsom, redistricting, etc. We know how much resources we have to work with in our projects. And some of these projects have matching funds that we receive. And then volunteer. Get people to sign up to be a volunteer. Each project has its own volunteer. There's Margie and Janice. They have a volunteer link for each of the projects that we work on. And then we get people to signify what they want to do working going forward. What if you find in your community that your local city council wants to impose draconian COVID-19 rules, or they're increasing your taxes? See this Start a Campaign? Use this link. Reform California was created not just to do the campaigns on our own, but we're here to help provide resources, guide, and give our infrastructure to reformers in every neighborhood. So under Start a Campaign, people can, in a community, reach out to us. And this is what we offer communities that are trying to fight bad government. We will offer them strategic plan facilitation so that they can clarify their goals, to make sure that they have a good plan of action. We will help them manage their campaign at cost, no overhead, no profit. We're not a profit organization. We're a campaign committee to campaign management to help them set up, whether it's emails, online ads, text messages, voter lists, phones, etc. We have it all, and we provide that help. We can do policy research and get them the facts to make their case, help them do a recall or file an initiative, do polling and look at data. We would activate volunteers for each project. And finally, we will help with fundraising, in addition to giving resources where we can obtain them from our backers. What we will do, though, is we'll vet the project. Not every project will get approved. So we're asking you to share your information and a brief description on your project so that we can review it, vet it, and then get back to you. But we need to start helping people in each part of the state do their own reform efforts. And that's what we're looking forward to with our Campaign Resource Center here. It's available to anyone who wants to take on a topic in their area. We'll help those that are willing to help themselves. So with that, let's switch back over to our Q&A now. I think that's where we are in our slide presentation. If you have a question, please click raise hand in your Zoom app, and we will call on you. You can also type in your question into the Q&A box. I'll read off the question and answer it. On the phone, hit *9 to raise your hand, and we will call on you when you hear a tone. And if your question's not answered, always just email us back at info@reformcalifornia.org. Let's go with Nancy Wares first. Go ahead, Nancy.
Oh, hello, Carl. This is Dr. Nancy Veras out here in Barstow. And we've been designated the worst city in Southern California.
Oh, there's a lot of people competing for that honor.
Well, anywho, we did get a reform mayor named Paul Courtney, who the city manager suddenly went on, what do you call that, administrative leave.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. I think they're draining a little bit of the swamp in Barstow.
All right. You have a question?
So my question is, I've been a volunteer with Election Integrity Project, California, Linda Payne and Ruth Weiss. And, you know, we volunteer, we take this training to go into the polling places. It's a 501c3, and our lawsuit was successful against the Secretary of State over issues in LA County. We had to hire Judicial Watch lawyers,
right,
with our money.
Yep.
And then Tom Fitton, I like Tom Fitton, you know, he's a hero.
Yeah.
Very handsome man, but he took all the credit and he didn't mention us at all. So I'm saying, could your group just delegate? That's what you call it in leadership, right? Delegation. Just delegate the election integrity part of it to this already established group and work, you know, promote them. And the other group I work with, well, I don't, you know, it's just I've given them money and I promote them on social media, is Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. So that's a great thing. Now the recall, there's so many confusing petitions.
Let me get into all those real quick. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the recall, I think maybe your group should just focus, as far as volunteers and everything, only on the parts that are missing. Like for designating which, you know, which group, which recall group is legit and which isn't. That's very important information.
Gotcha. Okay. So Nancy, let me go through each of those. Okay. There's a lot. Thank you for being part of it. First, on the recall, there's only one petition. Only one petition, and it's everywhere. You can get it at RecallGavin2020.com. We've sent it out through our list as well, but do not assume that there's multiple petitions out there. There's one petition, RecallGavin2020.com. Second, as it relates to election integrity California is a good group. So is Judicial Watch. Judicial Watch has a great record of winning lawsuits, and that's why we welcome their participation. Election Integrity California does good programs. We've worked with them in the past, continue to work with them today. Our focus is on forcing a federal HAVA and National Voting Rights Act lawsuit by auditing the voter rolls of California in Republican counties and using that as the base of evidence to sue the state of California to force a purge, a cleansing of the voter rolls in California. You can see that all laid out online. If you go to our election integrity project that we've got under active campaigns, election integrity. The most important thing about the election integrity efforts that we're leading is that it provides unassailable evidence of problems in our election rolls, the audit county by county of voter rolls. That's the most important thing we can do, because when you do an audit by a government agency, it's not an allegation from some volunteer. This is an actual government audit that is on government stationery that concludes that there are erroneous registrations, that the voter rolls are not being maintained properly, and that then becomes the basis of our lawsuit in federal court, and we have proof positive. We then ask the judge to force an audit of all the Democrat counties, as well as force a remediation program for the state. We also are looking at a ballot measure, an initiative to impose new standards for how we do elections that will improve internal controls. And so we're excited about that. But what we have to do is get everyone working together on election integrity. CPA does a good job in their area. Judicial Watch does a good job on the legal side in their area. But we have to really look at this as a multi-pronged, multifaceted coalition, all aimed at the same goal. Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and Reform California work hand in glove. Everything we do is integrated. They do exceptionally good tax law and policy work. Our role is the campaign side. We are the permanent campaign, organizing and helping fight the tax increases. They also do campaign stuff, but mainly they're law and policy oriented for how they go about their work. Let me go here to the Q&A box. Go ahead, get another one. Linda, are you there? Linda Hickman? Can't hear you, Linda. While we wait to get another person on audio, Dave Trick, I'll go to this question.
It's Linda. I don't know why that came up. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Okay.
Very well. Okay. Thank you, Carl. Thank you.
Deborah asks in the Q&A box, I already signed and sent in RecallGavin 2020 petition in September. Do I have to send in another one? No, you don't have to send in another one. If you send it to that site, that was the official site. That's the good one to go with. Pam asked about voting. I think we just covered that. Thanks, Pam, for the question. Cheryl asks about voting as well, but she asks a different sort of question. Cheryl's asking about the top Republican, top Democrat in elections. That's Prop 14. It needs to be repealed. Mm-hmm. Right now, we don't have a whole lot of support to repeal it with the donor community, but it's something that's on my plate. I want to get done, and we're hopeful to succeed in that in the coming years. Right now, I'm trying to get election integrity. That's our top ballot measure proposal on elections. Monica says many people are moving out. How does redistricting work in our favor? What areas of California are improving? A lot of people are fleeing the state, even liberals, but more conservatives are fleeing the state than liberals. It's because we can't live here anymore. It's a mess. It's a banana republic. Redistricting is a commission made up of citizens at the state level. They have to appoint 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 4 independents. They did that. Unfortunately, the Democrats gamed the appointment process because of the 5 Republicans. Are you ready for this? One of them is a lifelong Planned Parenthood donor, and the other is a repeated Black Lives Matter supporter. I don't think those two people are Republicans. So I worry about the commission, but we have what we have. The best way for us to influence the commission is to get people engaged in the process, and our project is designed to get as many people speaking up and participating as possible. You'll be getting information from us. Just know that we are working together to try to get that going. I think we've got Craig. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Go
How are
ahead,
you,
sir,
Carl?
and
Good.
ask your question.
Yeah, my name is Craig Cavell. I live in Upland, California, here in Southern California. We've got a city council that was just elected. Majority council are conservatives, which is a good thing. However, there is a move afoot in 2022 to raise the sales tax from 7.75%, go up 1% to 8.75%. Now, there's a group of us in the city that want to fight this if it's put on the ballot. And the city council has stated that they probably will do so. That being said, how does our group interact with you folks so we can get some help from you on how to best run our campaign here to defeat this 1% sales tax if it's put on the ballot?
The first thing is to go to the website, click under Start a Campaign
Okay,
right here.
see it?
And all you have to do is fill out the form that's going to pop up. Submit it, and you'll get contacted by our campaign coordinator, Jordan Gurnett, who will walk you through a viability discussion and do some pre-work with you. And if you can show that you have support from others in your immediate circle to be viable to do a campaign, then we will provide that sort of support on an ongoing basis. So it's pretty simple. It's just simply connecting with us through the website, and then you'll do a phone call with Jordan.
Thank you very much. Look
You're welcome.
forward to working with you folks if it comes to that.
Absolutely. Got a question here from Lynn. Are you working on any communication network that is not dependent on FANG? And that would be Facebook, Amazon, Alphabet, Twitter, and I don't know what the N is. I know Google's in there. What's the N? I don't know. But anyway, Netflix, I guess, the social media giants. One of the reasons why we've got the sign up that we have, and I know Donald Trump Jr. did this, he encouraged people to give text message and emails when they started blocking President Trump. The reason why we have that sign up here is so that if we do have a problem with social media, that we always can email people and let them know what platform we're on now. It's so sad that we even have to have a conversation like this, that we're being silenced by big business. Big business is absolutely in bed with the left, and they're using their authority and power to silence us. So that's why we do the petitions and the signups in case we lose our ability to communicate. I just received a mail recall letter petition from Rescue California using the same color scheme as Reform California, signed by Kevin Faulkner and 5 others. Is this related to your group? It's not from Reform California, but it is associated with the recall. You should send in the petition. If you've not filled it out yet, please do. Get your friends to send in the petition. But it is the petition you should use. I encourage people to contribute to the RecallGavin 2020 effort, though, if you're going to contribute financial resources. All of us are working in the same boat, but the citizen group is where I'm trying to get our funds as much as possible, not the corporate group. But everyone is accepted. Everyone is happy to be in the same table and whatnot. But I think the citizen group is spending money a bit more cost effectively. by the way, on the Faulkner stuff, he's not the candidate for governor. His record is atrocious. And, you know, we've put out a laundry list of his record at faulknerfailures.org. But he is not a candidate. That he's basically backing the Democrat Green New Deal, amnesty, tax increases. He cannot win the governor's race in California because he won't get the support of conservatives. We've been through Meg Whitman and Arnold Schwarzenegger. We've been through Mitt Romney. We're not going to support a candidate like that. So no on Faulkner. But I'm hoping we get a good candidate for governor to step forward. I think we already answered this question. Nancy asked it online. Here's Rob Davis. Considering how effective our opponents have been at developing and implementing a multitude of fraudulent election practices, are you confident we can do a more proactive versus reactive mode? Yes. Rob, it is impossible to contest an election after the election. I think Mr. Trump found that to be very difficult. We've got to audit these voter rolls a year out of the election and clean them up, because we don't want ballots going to dead people or illegal immigrants or duplicate ballots going out or ballots going to homes. You know, if you take a look at this report that we have, the election integrity report we did in October 15th, we found people, you know, getting ballots, you know, going 10 or 15 ballots. Here's the report right here. 10 to 15 ballots going to the same address. Nobody lived there. Stacked up outside the door, ballots, elections, ballots that anyone could go and harvest and return and tip elections. So we got to audit the voter rolls. We have to clean the voter rolls, and we have to pursue some sort of court order in order to improve the internal controls on balloting going forward. Patty says, there's a question regarding people who have previously signed the recall petition. How far back should you go to see if you should sign again? If you signed the petition since June, May or June, you should be fine. If you signed it last year, 2018, 2017, if you signed it online, sign it again. The recall petition committee, they are looking at duplicates and they're purging duplicates. So if you've signed recently in the last 3 months, you're good, particularly if you sent it to RecallGavin 2020. If you signed farther back than that, you may want to sign again. Hope that answers the question. Shannon says, do you have any plans or vision to return to in-person volunteering? Helps build camaraderie and is virtual. Well, we have not had in-person volunteering since the November election because of COVID-19, the restrictions. We are now going back to the mailing program as we speak. Our new mailer started this week. I think yesterday is when they printed it. We are distributing mail kits to people to use at home. We do hope to do mail-in parties at people's homes and at the office when COVID-19 restrictions allow us to do that. Of course, if you want to do your own party outdoors with masks in the backyard, that's your constitutional freedom. It's your right. For those of you who've not seen The Office, I have a treat. Our headquarters in Escondido in San Diego County got renovated over the Christmas holiday, and it was all done by volunteers. The out-of-pocket costs were for the renovation $1,600. Absolutely thrilled. All we paid for were paint, the rollers, the plywood, the drywall, the carpet. And actually, we got the carpet donated. But when you see the new headquarters, it's amazing. It's really going to allow us to work more efficiently. We've created a call center. Even though we have a app to do calls at home and text messages at home, we now have a call center for our interns and volunteers to do polling. So they can actually poll voters, and we can now get away from the crappy polls that I don't trust, and we can do the methodology in-house. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yes, Shannon, we do hope to get back to in-person volunteering as quickly as we can. Right now, we do have volunteer programs from home and the mailing programs that people can come and pick up. Let's go with one last question. We are up against a hard deadline. Frank says in LA, will we have regional groups? The answer is yes. We are trying to do regional groups. I've been discussing creating a Central Valley Reform California chapter. Right now, we do a lot in Orange County, San Diego, Riverside, LA County, Southern California. We do on the Prop 6 campaign, we did a lot statewide. We relied on a virtual campaign organization in 2020 because of COVID-19. It didn't make sense to set up the field offices and distribution points that we had in 2018. And our resources were pretty constrained as well. So in 2022, I do want us to get back to more of the regional hubs. And right now we are dialoguing with the Central Valley supporters to see if we can put that together and in some of the other target areas as well. So it is on our list. We do need to do it. But a lot of what we're doing right now is harnessing technology to get people to do things through the app that we use for phone calls, texts, petition sharing, online resources, signature collection, and the like. All right, with these other questions, we're going to try to get back to you one-on-one over the email. If we did not answer your question, please cut and paste it, email it to info@reformcalifornia.org, info@reformcalifornia.org. Please do consider helping us out, particularly right now, on the effort to stop Gavin Newsom. The funds that we're raising on the Gavin Newsom side not only support our efforts to get the recall qualified, but most importantly, are building up our resources in the committee to fund the yes on recall should we qualify, because that is going to take a tremendous amount of advertisement and outreach, yes on recall, to get independent voters. So please do what you can in that regard. With that, thank you so much for joining us today over the lunch hour. And we are going to continue to work as hard as we can. Please do not give up hope. That's what the other side wants us to do. They want us to be despondent and depressed and desolate and give up. No. Americans have confronted worse. They, through their leadership, gave us a better America. Now it's our turn to take the challenges that we've been confronted with and give our children a better America and give our children a better California. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day.